cells, if you have a eggs and sperm are forming, then in eggs, this is methylation comes, which we have started. And in sperm, this methylation is not there. So, why I am calling it a imprinting? Because the cell remembers it. So, any gene you cannot call as a imprinting. Imprinting basically means is happening when cell remember, and this is the beauty of the epigenetic mechanism. So, what is unknown in the field? So, if, as a new career, new scientist, if you want to look for how epigenetics contribute to the memory function, less work is done in this area. So, more and more scientists is required to understand how cell understand that I have to reset this back, because here zygote is forming, and some point of time in the development, you see this eggs and sperm are coming out, and cell exactly remember that okay, this locus has to be methylated. So few work has been done. I'm not saying that nothing has been done, but still it is unclear that how this transition happening from here. Now what is happening at this stage and this stage? So think about in terms of cell division. Somatic developments what? Suppose from after mitosis, one cell, another cell type form, right? So during cell type formation, the first thing is happening is in the interface after in the mitosis, DNA duplication. So when DNA duplicates, you have to track three things: DNA, histones, and non-histone proteins, which are basically the chromatin modifiers or chromatin binding or modification specific reader protein. So you will see that histones are expressed, DNA is also get duplicated, then a setting which was there in a cell all get disrupted, and then finally when the cell become like a liver cells will become a liver cell, a neuronal cell will become a neuronal cell. So how that identity will keep same? So what are the hypotheses behind that? How cell remember this memory? So there are different mechanism and postulates are there. I'm not again going in those detail. We will go through the detail. One of the example I will say, in cancer also it is already known that because of the semi-conservative mode of the DNA duplication, modification also give two half. One has the modification and one histone has another. And this is only one mechanism I am telling. There are other mechanism are also. Then what happens that there are reader protein which will bind to that modification. So remember in the beginning I said that you have an initiation and maintenance. So once initiation happen that okay, this particular locus has a methylation, then protein binds there, then it further attracts other protein complexes, and then the locus means the chromatin state, which is not a single modification. It consists of histone modification, DNA methylation, everything is there actually preserved. So that is one of the mechanisms. So cell exactly remember that okay, now this locus has to be methylated, it will methylate it. So this way, and this specificity is, people say that it is can be determined through the transcription factors, which has both DNA binding activity as well as some transcription factor do not have a DNA binding activity. That's another mechanism. Okay, and transcription factor X in complex of the chromatin modifier. So in this way, this resetting is preserved. But this is the phenomenon. Okay, if you go, if someone is interested, then they can go through this sort of things. So now you understood that methylation is one of the cause, and then this is during development of the germline, the methylation imprint is erased, but it re-established. So you have read about DNA methylation, right? Somewhere you have been taught, right? So I will not go in detail, just to recap you that there are imprinting control region, and that region is actually you have a very high DNA methylation, and that is recognized by different complexes, and there are two methyl transferases involved. One actually maintain and another is actually important for the establishment, and then there is a methyl binding domain. So this action of this protein, the locus is uh, uh, preserved. Okay, so think the next slide is basically showing you little bit in depth. Okay, so we know, first thing we know that methylation is important. We know the enzymes important. Now if you have to experimentally prove, what will you do? You can track DNMT function. You can track DNA methylation. You can measure the DNA methylation. Also you can measure enhancer function, and you can measure CTCF recruitment. CTCF is the protein important for what? Chromatin looping. So you want the genes which is transcribing should be separate from the genes which has not to be transcribed. Insulator means actually providing that it should not get transcribed. So it happens through the this CTCA protein which give you the looping. Okay, so at maternal allele, what is happening that this CTCF is actually phasing out this separate and this locus separate. When DNA methylation is there, like in paternal allele it is methylated, then it get insulated. Then no longer it is transcribed. So this is just a linear model you can think of, but it is not actually happening in the linear mode. It happens in actually the complex way. So one mechanism of imprinting I told you, DNA methylation, but there is another mechanism also, and that is happening through the non-coding RNA. Now when this non-coding RNA was discovered, then people were thought that how a non-coding RNA will recruit the repressive complex, because repressive complexes are basically the enzymes which lay down the repressive marks. But now it is very clear that this non-coding RNA interact and actually load the repressive complexes. So apart from DNA, the example of KCNQ1 and IGF2R, here it happens that you have this non-coding RNA. Non-coding RNA actually cause you to repression of that locus. Okay, and the locus where there is no non-coding RNA form, actually it expresses very well. Okay, so this one is basically telling you that thing. Here also there's another gene also. You have this coating of the non-coding RNA happen in paternal, and in maternal everything get expressed. Okay, so these are the two example I told you. One is I told you for using DNA methylation, another is through the non-coding RNA. And when I'll teach about dosage compensation, there also you will going to learn about this. Now one more thing here, it is saying that this particular long non-coding RNA is postulated to recruit the enzymes that brings the repressive histone modification to silence genes in cis. In cis means closer to this. Can it happens in trans also? In trans means you have a locus, you are silencing the nearby locus, but if there is a locus which is silencing, can say chromosome 1, certain gene can also silence chromosome 2. You know any examples? You understand my question is, this one is saying in cis model, right? That this everything has on the same chromosome, and then it giving the silencing. This T means telomere end. So we are not showing the total chromosome. This is toward the centromere. This is toward the telomere. This is just a snapshot of the locus. Again, names are very complicated here, but I'm just trying to tell you the point that it's saying that in cis recruit, can it recruit in trans? You know any example? In what happens in facultative heterochromatin? In some facultative heterochromatin where certain gene has to be repressed, certain there it can happen. Also the centromere. Do you think that in centromere these things can happen? Can centromere is basically what? You have a chromosome. How will you define a centromere? Okay, but how cell know that this is the sister chromatid? Remember, whatever you answer, I'm going to probe it further, further and further. That is how the interview questions are asked. I agree. Whatever you are saying, agree. This is true. One is joined together through this. But why? Why not here?
Facilitates the folding so that the chromatin model is proper so that they are in presence.
You're just modulating the words. That's very good tactics. Different student apply that. Please don't take otherwise. My point is like we say this thing. Of course, you are right. You are trying the same thing. What I'm looking for, you could not remember. So that is where you need to remember something also. Although I'm telling concept, but in an Indian system, if you do not remember little bit, people are not going to like you. Always concept and always experiment also doesn't matter. Little bit remembering is also required. So I'll tell you example that SENPE, centromere specific protein A. SENPE is the one which will tell you that this is the centromere. Okay, or again, there are exception also. So in budding yeast and fusion, so most of this system, what are the model system through which you can understand epigenetic? You are on the 9th lectures. So I will like or not, you need to know this. If I want to understand what are the initial model system which has been used to understand the epigenetic mechanism.
Drosophila, zebrafish, and mice models.
Mice model will be very difficult in initial days. Drosophila, I little bit agree. Zebrafish is also little bit difficult. Somebody say? Maze. Maze is also okay because that phenotype Barbara McIntosh has found. But that's a unique opportunity. Hmm? Monogenetic twins. But these are all new examples you are giving. There is differences in monogenetic twins for sure. Initial days, I'm bringing you back to the 80s and 90s where nothing was known. Remember on those days, if you do not have a mobile, what you used to do? You used to write a letter, right? Now the people are in the smartphone. Oh, I don't know. Even through the chat GPT and all, you can just text and send a very, very nice letter to the PI. Blah, 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 blah. PI think, wow, such a fantastic student. See, he knows everything. Such a beautiful write-up is there. All copied through the... For the faculty also, it's very, very difficult nowadays to tease out which one is the good student, which one the bad student. Very, very difficult, believe me. It's not easy because you guys are so smart. I'm typically saying very, very smart. You are smart than me compared. If I will erase, so that's what I'm saying. So my point is, all the example you given in the higher eukaryote, you have to go to the lower eukaryotes. So what are the example of lower eukaryotes? Yeast. So fission yeast is one of the yeast, budding yeast another yeast, then Drosophila was of course, and then there are many C. elegans systems are also there where you can tracks. So these are the model system through which the system has been depressed. So the point I'm trying to bring it out. So in all of you, if I ask that around the centromere, there is a repetitive regions exist, and that repetitive region where heterochromatin assemble, and that heterochromatin actually determine that how centromere formation will happen. So the shape you are talking about, the trajectory, all is due to the heterochromatin orient. So if you perturb the heterochromatin, you will lose the centromere function. And all this work has been beautifully done in the Saccharomyces pombe fission yeast. In the budding yeast, you have a point centromere. And the point centromere, that is where you are saying that there are DNA element. That actually tells you that, okay, this is the domain where centromere has to be formed. So both DNA dependent as well as depending on the where heterochromatin forms. So the Saccharomyces pombe heterochromatin is more closer to the metazoans, because if you remember in the human cells also you have a centromere around which you have the repeat sequences, right? So that repeat sequences has to be silenced, and that is where the heterochromatin is there. So that is the important of the heterochromatin there. So during the S phase, there is a transient window where the region get opened, and that time you get this non-coding RNA in the cell, and that non-coding RNA is required by the repressive complexes, and then it will bring the repressive enzyme. Again, I am not going to the all this because then we will not be able to finish the class. But that is one. You just whatever I am saying additional, you can just make a slight note. That would be very helpful for you. Okay. So that is what is important. Now I love to go little bit more depth. So this is the level number 5. Like you, all of you now game video games, right? Level 1 cleared, level 2 cleared, level 3 cleared, level 5. Come on, this is much more complicated, but this is the same slide I showed you. All the slide I'm showing the same thing. I'm not showing any different thing. I'm proving you the same concept. The concept is, this concept is basically you are looking not in terms of the DNA, you are looking in terms of the chromatin conformations. So this one actually telling you that how the CF actually bind. So wherever you have a DNA methylation happens, so these are the enzyme we do the methylation. If CTCF is there, this is not going to bind there. And you have all the chromatin where this enhancer element is there. You know enhancer, right? By the way. So enhancer important for transcription. So it actually insulates from this. So this is the same diagram, but if you look the modern papers like 2015 RNA sequencing things came up, then you can basically create contacts. You can sequence and tell that this chromatin is region is interacting with this region. So through which this particular things has been discovered. So we are proving the same thing, and this is basically what is it is written here in the terms. Those who want to read this in the system wise. Come to the disease. Why we are studying? So why we are studying this, by the way? Ultimately, it has been connected to there are many disease example. Only 2 example I am giving you, BWS and SRS. This long name is very difficult for me to remember, but you have to remember because you need to give the exam. So in that case, an undergrowth and asymmetry disorder, these are the 2 which basically arise due to the imprinting disorder. Means in this particular thing, this, there is a problem in these two locus. IGF2 actually connected with one, and the S19 is connected with one. And because of this, you do not have a proper silencing. So this sort of disease happens. So you can do this thing in many ways. Either you can have a mutations in the ICR, imprinting control region. If you lose the methylation, you could get this. You could also get, if you have a problem in DNA methyltransferases, you could also get if you have somehow problem in these two genes. So same phenotype you can get through different ways. So this is one example. The another example is associated with this SRSH is IGF2. So if you go through this paper, there are a lot of examples are there. So apart from this, actually this too has been connected to the, I'll come to this protein later on because some point of time we'll talk about this. So I'll keep omitting this for now, but this is also connected to this disease also. A zinc finger protein which important in basically this developmental disorder. So this sort of disease actually do occurs. Now I'll switch gear because there are two things we discussed about imprinting. So if you have any questions in the imprinting, we can go. I can answer. You can keep the question also. You can tomorrow ask. So another thing is activation and inactivation of the whole chromosome, where we are going to talk about the dosage compensation. So what do you mean by dosage compensation? So this is the picture you see all the time, right? Because these are the phenotypically it has been shown. So in this cat, basically whether the fur will be brown or this color, that is connected to the X chromosome inactivations. So and this also bring back to that the back to the heterochromatin versus euchromatin. So I said that if you take the cells and stain, the both will be stained differentially, and in the X chromosome you see the heterochromatin formation. Basically the inactivation happens and the whole chromosome gets silenced. So these are the old literature like 1949, nothing 1961. In 1949 there was nothing known about nature of the DNA. At that time people have talked about epigenetics. Not, the term was not coined at that time, but it was like a different name. Okay, so this is how experimentally you look into cell. Again, this is very complicated, taken from the slide. So what you are looking an electron micrograph where you can distinguish this one is the heterochromatin. So as I said in the last class, I told that it will mostly found in the periphery or toward the nucleolus little bit. And then if you nowadays, if you do the fluorescence microscopy, you can track the DNA, right? You can put the fluorescent probe in the region. You can make a piece of DNA, you can add a fluorophore into there, you do the FISH experiment, and then fluorescent in situ hybridization experiment, right? And there you will see the inactive and chromosome, and where you have other type of heterochromatin formation in there. And now you can construct 3D images from this. Nowadays using cell biology technique, that's why this nucleolus painting, right? The picture I showed, the complex picture, you have a different color in the nucleus. Actually, that is assigned through the this different type of color you can put into the different region, and then you can basically design where is what, and also you can make the computer based. Okay, so this was the basic discovery, and from there आज भी सेम ही चीज डिस्कवर हो रहा है, right? With this more and more depth and clarity. Now, so this slide is clear, right? You know it. So what do you mean by dosage compensation? What is dosage? Say it. अभी इस सेकेंड क्लास में थोड़ा सा और कम हो गया और थोड़ा ज़्यादा इंटरेक्शन होना चाहिए. इस बार मैं पीएचडी स्टूडेंट को टीच कर रहा था तो मैंने यही देखा, शुरू में काफ़ी इंटरेक्टिव थे, धीरे धीरे जैसे जैसे क्लासेस का डेप्थ बना गया इंटरेक्शन कम हो गया. दैट कुड सजेस्ट टू थिंग्स, either you are losing the track or losing the interest. Which one? Losing the track? If you are losing the track, then I'm teaching the same thing. I have, from the morning, I have teach only two things. One, I teach DNA methylation, cause repression. Here also the same thing actually come into the picture. Only here the matter is for whole chromosome. But the question is like, in the epigenetic mechanism, you said, right, gene expression is very, very important.
Like what I understood about that.
Yeah, that I need to know.
So if one gene is there, which is like present in paternal chromosome and it is absent in the mother chromosome. So when it comes to the offspring, that gene will come to the daughter cell. Okay. So if some gene is
No, go ahead. It's just a timer to pick up my daughter. So that's okay.
if that is not present in equally in the both the chromosomes, so they will equalize the gene in both the.
Okay, yeah. So similar to that, like we cannot say the maternal pattern, that gene is important. That is the point is here, if something is extra, then you have autosomes, and then you have, say, suppose if you have a 2X chromosome, then if this gene will also express whatever genes present on here, here will also express. The dose will be double. So nature has to cut it down, right? But again, Drosophila doesn't think so, or C. elegans doesn't care. Drosophila say that no, I don't like dosage compensation. I will activate everything. I'll tell you how hyperactivation is connected to Drosophila, inactivation is constructed to this, and hypoactivation is constructed to this. Three different organisms, all are higher eukaryotes, all have a different pattern of things to do. Here what is doing? Here it's inactivating one chromosome. Here is hyperactivating. And here it is hypoactivating. Means it is in between these two. So because of this complex nature of the biology, this century is basically for the biologists. Even physics people want to come and read biology. Computer people coming to read biology because they can think from the mathematical point of view. So that's what the bioinformatics and everything. So to solve this complexity, you cannot go through the biological way. You need to have an extraordinary way to explain the things. And this is not even disease associated cells. On top of this, if it is disease associated, वहाँ तो फिर 12 बज गया, cancer like situation में, or any other disease you can remember. So there the problem will happen. Okay. So let's go. Level 1 is fine now, you understand. Level 2, we will go the Drosophila and C. elegans, not in that great detail, but I want to talk little bit about that. Okay. So how you silence? the locus. Remember the first problem I told you. It's all about DNA, 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 nothing else. At the end of the day, either you have to make DNA silenced or you have to make it express. And cells apply different tricks. And so in this particular cells, what people have found that there is a gene which produce MSL proteins, and that actually MSL protein bind to the one of the X chromosome, and then binding of that actually activate it, because this has basically H4K16 acetylation type of thing. I'm not going in detail, but this brings the binding of this MSL protein to here actually cause transcription to be more and more. See how confusing it is. सर सुबह से आप तो यही बोले कि डीएनए मेथिलेशन हो गया, जब कोई भी प्रोटीन डीएनए मेथिलेशन पे बाइंड करता है रिप्रेस हो जाता है. अभी आप बोल रहे कि एक प्रोटीन बाइंड कर रहा है, वो पूरा चीज एक्टिवेट कर रहा है. So that's why epigenetics is context specific. So here this MSL protein actually attracts what? Activators. It attracts the protein which makes the chromatin more accessible, so that transcription machinery will come down and more gene will be produced. Purpose is the same. Purpose is you have to make the DNA access, and once DNA will get access, through the DNA, through the RNA polymerase, it need to be transcribed. If repair is happening, repair has to be done, repair protein will come. For transcription has to come, transcription factors will come and activate the locus. So here this protein, and how they have proved at that time, because when they make the mutation in this, actually it was lethal, and it was lethal in this male specific lethality was there. Why? Because if this will not be there, then the organism will basically not survive, because that is present on the X. I'm not teaching you the sex determinations, assuming that you know the genetics. Okay, is it clear or not? If you have a difficulty in problem, then you read little bit about sex determination in your genetics class. So this is how sex determination is done. So I didn't go in that detail, thinking that you know. So this is where sometimes happens that teachers think that students are not understanding. The reason teacher cannot go and teach all everything. You need to have a basic understanding of this. If you know how the male and female get determined, because as a scientist I can still advocate, because the people say that male-female ratio depends on the female, but actually male depends on the male. So that with the new generation will educate more people in our country. So so that is what it there. So if anything is problem in happening in this gene, it is actually causing the problem in the male. So that's why male specific lethal. Now since we do not need to go in detail, let's talk about the C. elegans little bit. Again here the situation is like it will be partially repressed in these two, and then if you partially repressed, then again the gene can dosage become completed. I'm not talking about the complexes. A lot of papers are there. You can go in your time and read. But this is the concept. So the concept here is, I'll go detail about the first one, the mammal thing. But these are, I thought that I will deviate from the topic. So, but I keep these two examples. In the previous, you are hyperactivating. Here, you are basically the hypoactivated, making somehow the gene equal. And this all says that we are actually coming from frame evolutionary adaptation. It's nothing the magic. A human being is arrived because all the evolutions actually. That's why there is a partiality. Some phenomena are conserved in the lower eukaryote, some are conserved in the higher eukaryote. So because this partial conservation are there, right? So this is telling us that there is a evolutionary process. So you come back to this one because we are interested in this one, that how one chromosome get inactivated, right? Again, sir is putting very complicated slide. I don't like it. Of course, no need to go through that complicated slide. Just see the pattern. इसके पहले भी मैंने एक पैटर्न दिखाया था during the embryo development. You see the first slide. I told you how it's basically manifestation of the same slide with more detail. And here the detail is basically the X inactivation cycle. So in X inactivation cycle, you have two things. One is during spermatogenesis, you have one way of silencing. In oogenesis, you have a very different way. So you now convinced that one particular locus is coming from the maternal side and another is coming from the paternal side. So in order to get silence, the easiest way is to do the DNA methylation, and that's why in epigenetics initially DNA methylation was the well studied, and even now people have a different way they study DNA methylation. So what they have found, they just track this X inactivation in sperm versus in the oocyte, and they found that during zygote both are there. Okay, here also it remains there. Somehow magically what happens that in this case one started getting silenced, and then somehow this reactivation occurred, and then again it in male one gets silenced, another get activated. But in this case this kind of segregation happens some stage at the embryonic stage like E6.5. At this stage there is something happening in the X chromosome, but when it becomes germ cell again this same thing can come like here. So isn't this one is looking similar to the I talked about the imprinting thing. In imprinting thing, remember I was showing you the simple locus specific, that in one locus is silent. During zygote, both are there. And then when germ cell happens, so similar type of things is happening here also in the X chromosome inactivation also. So it's the same sort of things. So this is what you can phenotypically explain, that somehow at this stage one chromosome, and it happens randomly, so it's called random inactivation. So you cannot say that it is like imprinting. In imprinting you know the locus, and then if that is silent, that is also going to silent, but here it's the silent is random because there is two X chromosome is coming. Yes.
What is the reason behind the silencing of that particular stage? Like there's a
So that is what the epigenetic memory is. In that case, that's what I was giving you two hypotheses, that somehow this memory is there which remembers. Here it is the random, and the random happens because then evolution you don't want to be male bias or you don't want to be female bias. So that's why this random inactivation is very, very important. Otherwise you could just take this, and now if you think since somewhere infertility is there in my lecture, and I'm not putting a lot of slide in assisted reproductive technology, where people are saying that there are two groups. One group is saying that you can control this X and Y. Other people are saying that no, there is not way to control this through the epigenetic mechanism. So there is a big debate is there. So because since this randomness is happen, nature wants it not to be biased. It's all like probability factors. But again, how this happen, it is not clear. I didn't find any exact causation rule. We all get egg and chicken theory, which comes first. That's it. This will remain for the epigenetic people for a long time. Okay, so the point here is random inactivation happens, and that's why in somatic you could have any of this could be active, any could be inactive, and then in germ cell again the same features come back to the picture. So this is the